So the narrative of this comment is that Colby Covington comfortably won round 4, whereas Kamaru Usman comfortably won rounds 1 and 2. So if he's able to convince me that Colby Covington won rounds 5 and 3, then clearly that should mean that Colby Covington won the fight. But the only issue here is that that would require accepting that round 2 was not a 10-8 round for Kamaru Usman, which it was. He was robbed of scoring a 10-8 round over Colby Covington. A lot of people are confused about the scoring criteria, so I'm going to talk about the scoring criteria, and I'm going to actually break down rounds 3 and 5. They were close rounds. I can understand the argument as for why Colby Covington would have won, but for my money's worth, Kamaru Usman won the fight, but at worst, you could argue that he maybe should have drawn the fight. The narrative that a lot of people try to press is that Colby Covington, he had his moments in the round. He was able to score a little bit of control time. He landed a couple good shots in the round, so that should undo the argument of Kamaru Usman getting a 10-8 over Colby Covington, because in their minds, they think that you need to totally dominate every aspect of the fight for the entire round if you want to get a 10-8. But that's just not what the rules say. The rules never say that that needs to happen. There are certain criteria that would make somebody eligible for a 10-8, and just scoring winning a round by a wide margin is the exact verbiage that they use. That would make somebody eligible for winning a round 10-8. And I'd consider that exactly what Kamaru Usman did if he knocks you down 2 times within proximity of each other. You know what I mean? This is definitely a 10-8 round for Usman. Let's take a look at the scoring criteria. So as I just said, a 10-8 round in MMA is where one fighter wins a round by a large margin. It is absolutely essential to the evolution of the sport and the fairness of the fighters that judges understand and effectively utilize the score of 10-8. So basically this is saying that they understand that sometimes a score will be a 10-8, but the judges aren't going to score that, and that's not fair. It is essential that judges need to learn how to effectively and accurately score rounds 10-8 for the fairness of the fighter. A score of 10-8, get this, does not require a fighter to dominate the opponent for 5 minutes of a round. Judges must consider giving the score of 10-8 when a fighter impacts their opponent significantly in a round, even though they did not dominate the action. So what happened here? Kamaru Usman impacted Colby Covington significantly, even though he did not dominate the action of the round. When a fighter is hurt with strikes showing a lack of control or ability, these can be defining moments in a fight. If a judge sees that a fighter has been significantly damaged in the round, the judge should consider the score of 10-8. So what we just took a look at gave the terms where a judge is justified in considering a 10-8. Now, why should the judge consider a 10-8 here? Well, because Kamaru Usman won the round by a large margin. That's the definition of a 10-8. It gave you winning a round by a wide margin, and it justified all the different ways where a judge is, eligible to consider the 10-8, and Kamaru Usman is within that. Therefore, it's a 10-8. And then what you're seeing right here is that this is going to be a rare occasion, in my opinion, where it's going to go to aggression as sort of the tiebreaker for effective striking and grappling. As you can see, Kamaru Usman had an effective little exchange there where he's able to get to the front headlock, and then he lands a solid left hook as Colby Covington breaks away. Colby Covington was able to land about 3 good punches, and then he's able to briefly get a takedown here. These are the only effective exchanges in this whole round. The others are just a couple glancing shots. These were the only real solid scoring moments of the round, and I really can't say which one matters more. There was more duration. This was a longer exchange for Colby Covington. However, just as far as the amount of impact, I mean, you really can't say that one of them did better than the other. Now, if you were to look at the scoring criteria like I'm showing you right now, it says that if effective striking and grappling is 100% equal, then you are to go on to effective aggression. And it clarifies that effective aggression doesn't just mean going out there and throwing shots. It's the shots that actually does something. So the person who was throwing more shots that actually did something, objectively speaking, was Kamaru Usman. That is just simply a fact. He threw more significant strikes. So Kamaru Usman, per the actual unified MMA rules scoring criteria, won that round. Now, I'm just gonna go off topic for a second, but so there was a weird audio glitch where my previous recording cut out. But basically, what I was trying to say is that I am not biased against Colby Covington. I think he's a great fighter. And in my personal scoring criteria, in a just world, it would have been a draw for that round, or Colby Covington even winning, just because I think that as far as secondary criteria goes, it makes no sense that effective aggression matters more than fighting area control. Because in my mind, the person who was actually dominating the duration of the fight and controlling the pace and all that stuff, that is an aspect of winning the fight. Whereas just going out there and making more attempts to punch the other person or whatever doesn't matter if the impact is 100% the same. That's just how it works in my mind. And Colby Covington, even though I thought the effective striking and grappling was 100% equal, Colby Covington was able to dominate the duration of that clinch. So he would have the fighting area control, satisfied, and he would have won that round in a more just scoring criteria. And in my criteria, where I've made numerous videos talking about how it should be, there shouldn't even be secondary criteria. After effective striking and grappling, if that's 100% equal, then it should just be viewed as a 10-10 round because the impact was 100% equal. So in an ideal world, that's either a tie or Colby Covington winning that round. But we don't live in that world. We live in the world where Colby Covington did not have the aggression criteria, which means that he lost the round. Anyway, Usman landed more shots, so objectively, he won that round according to the unified MMA rule scoring criteria because effective striking and grappling was 100% equal. And then after I say this, I'm going to get into a more productive discussion about this, the fifth round. But it says impact includes visible evidence such as swelling and lacerations. So just spoiler alert, I'm giving Kamaru Usman the fifth round just because this is what Colby Covington looked like leaving the fourth round. And this is what Colby Covington looked like close to the end of the fifth round. As you can see, Colby Covington gets a new cut opened up on his forehead during this round in a round that I think was otherwise fairly even. So because of that, just because there was more visible impact in, there otherwise being relatively equal effective striking and grappling, I'd have to give the effective striking and grappling category to Kamaru Usman, which would therefore mean that he wins the primary criteria and therefore the round. Anyway, here's just the rest of the round so that you could be the own arbiter of who you think won the effective striking and grappling. I'm not mad at what you choose either way, but if you actually, slow down and look at most of these, there weren't too many, good clean shots landed on either side during this round. There was one good right hand that split Colby Covington's guard there, but not really too many solid punches from Kamaru or Colby Covington, so it was just difficult for me to judge, As far as the actual octagon control, which it never goes to, so this is just me saying words right now, but Kamaru Usman was the person who was holding that front headlock there, which is a very dominant position, so you'd have to give that to him. I do believe that he was the person who landed more significant strikes if you were to resort to aggression as a secondary, category of scoring as well. But it really doesn't need to go there. I really do believe that you would have to score the effective striking and grappling for Kamaru Usman just because he has more visible damage when it wasn't clear who was actually being more effective there. You know what I mean? Another thing to say, that right there, that's a slip. You slow it down. Kamaru Usman didn't Kamaru Usman didn't get knocked down. You do not score slips. It makes no sense for you to score slips. You lose your balance. That sucks. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter. You only score things that are actually going to be impactful toward you winning or losing the fight, and that slip isn't impactful toward that, So, yeah.